Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CLSR, and I'm your host, the counselor. This is Psychosocial Part 2. How are we going to help people who are experiencing stressful situations? And we need to identify the signs and symptoms of these stressors. Okay, so what we need to do is support people who are experiencing stress, and we need to know how to do that correctly. See, first we need to understand that some of the signs of stress are quite natural. It's like a natural reaction in which everyone experiences. Signs of stress could include emotional reactions, such as feeling sad, angry, scared, behavioral reactions like lack of motivation, avoiding doing activities, becoming violent, for example. And then there's also the physical reactions, such as the headaches, muscle pain, back pain, difficulty sleeping, lack of appetite. Now, if you're going to support people who are experiencing stress, you need to have supportive communication skills. Okay, and we talked about those in our last segment, but now we're going to get a little deeper in depth with that. Okay, so first, what you want to do is you want to be able to encourage the person to think of something that they could do to feel better. See, people may already have things that they do to help themselves in stressful situations. And to support them to draw on this knowledge, ask the person, what has helped you previously when you felt this way? What do you currently do to help yourself feel better? And you can provide them with prompts if they struggle to think of something. Like, is there anyone who can help you? Are there any activities you used to enjoy doing that you could do? If a person cannot think of anything that they can do to help themselves, you can make some suggestions. All right. Like, make a list of all the things that you are grateful for. Right. You can write that down if you have to, or just think of things. Brainstorm. Try to find time to do an activity that you enjoy, like a hobby, meaningful everyday activity, something that's useful to you. I always suggest exercising, walking, and dancing. I love that. Do something creative, such as art, singing, writing. Everyone loves music. Get some music that you like. Listen to the music on the radio, speakers, MP3 players, your cell phone. Get your playlist together, right? Speak to a friend or family member. Read a book or listen to an audiobook. It's that simple. These activities will help you. Try a relaxation activity. See, if someone appears anxious or stressed, slow breathing may help. Say, I have a technique which can help you feel calmer when you're feeling stressed. It involves taking some slow breaths together. Is it okay if we do this together? So you work with them to go through this breathing activity, right? And if the person agrees with you, you do it together. Take a breath in with me through your nostrils while counting to three. Keep the shoulders down. Let the air fill the bottom of your lungs, and then exhale slowly through your mouth while counting to six. Are you ready? And we're going to do this 3 times. So you walk through it with them about 3 times so they get it. They can do this, but it's so relaxing for people. Does it help everyone? No, it doesn't help everyone, but it's very helpful in many situations. And if the person is not feeling comfortable with this exercise, that's okay. That's okay. See, just think of a case where I recall a guy I know and a girl I knew, Joseph and Julia. Right? Joseph's partner has been taken into a hospital with COVID-19, and she's so worried about him that she's not sleeping at night. She cannot eat. She has back pain. Josephine is talking to her colleague, Julia, on the phone and tells her how she is feeling. Now, Julia listens to her and shows her support and care. She asks Josephine if there's anything she could do to make herself feel better. See, Josephine is so tired that she can't think about anything at that moment. Her back aches so much. She realizes that she has been at home without walking or moving very much and decides to do some stretches and to dance in the mornings to some nice music. And she and her partner would normally do this, but she hasn't done it in a while. So Julia loves this idea and tells her that she can join her by telephone or video and call in the morning to stretch and dance together. Josephine is happy about the suggestion, and to have her friend or her colleague join her in this way is an extra delight for her. See, it's really wonderful if you have someone there. See, when someone is experiencing serious distress, and the signs of distress, okay, that we talked about, that's one thing. But some people may have a longer lasting and more intense reactions, right? See, when this happens, they might be seriously distressed. Feeling serious distress is a normal reaction to extraordinary circumstances, but it can stop people being able to function. See, in a situation like this, it is likely that you will need to refer to the person on to someone who could offer some special support. See, signs that someone has experienced serious distress, usually they're so upset they cannot take care of themselves or others. They're very anxious and fearful. They're talking about wanting to hurt themselves or even kill themselves. Not knowing their name, where they are from time to time, what is happening, they're shouting, they're feeling disoriented or unreal, being very withdrawn, being angry, threatening to hurt others. These are signs that someone is going through some serious distress. And what could we do when we encounter someone who is dealing with this serious distress? Well, I always say in every situation, the first thing is safety. Safety first. Make sure that you, the person, and others are safe from harm. And if you feel unsafe, leave and get some help. If you think the person may hurt themselves, get help. Ask anyone you know, call the police, call emergency number, take preventative measures against COVID-19 infections if you have to, right? But get some help. Do not put yourself at risk, all right? You also want to let them know who you are. So if you see someone in serious distress, introduce yourself clearly and respectfully. Tell them your name, your role, and that you are there to help. Ask them their name so that they can address you accordingly. Okay? Keep calm. Above everything else, try to maintain your composure. Don't shout at the person. Even if you think they're not hearing you, do not shout at the person. All right? Or physically restrain them. Some people go right into control mode. You do not want to do that at all. And another key thing for you to do simply is to listen. And I do mean listen. Use your communication skills, all right? Do not pressure the person to talk. Be patient and reassure them that you are there to help and listen. And that's how you support. But you also, right? You also, if you want, you can help that person regain control. See, if there is a person who is anxious, support them to breathe slowly, right? And we talked about the technique. If the person is out of touch with their surroundings, remind them where they are, the day of the week, and who you are. Ask them to notice things in their immediate environment. Name one thing that you see or hear, for example. Help them to use their own good coping strategies and to reach out to supportive people in their lives, right? Make sure you provide clear information. It's vital. Give reliable information to help the person understand the situation and what help is going to come, what is going to be available for them to keep them calm. Make sure that you use words that they can understand. Do not use complicated words. Keep the message simple and repeat it or write it down if needed. Ask them if they understand or have any questions. Above all else, stay with the person. Try not to leave them. I know you'll be tempted to leave them to try to get some help. Try not to leave the person. If you can, engage someone else to go for help. Stay with them. Okay, make sure someone, or vice versa, make sure someone's with that person. Try not to leave the person alone. If you can't stay with them, find that safe person I said. A colleague, a friend, a bystander, to be with them until you find help and they can feel calmer. Now, There will be times where you need to refer to some specialized support. Do not go beyond the limits of what you know. Let others with more specialized skills, such as an EMS worker, a doctor, nurse, counselor, mental health professional, let them take over and get this person linked up with this support and make sure that they have contact information and clear instruction for getting further assistance. It's very easy for us when we're trying to support people to overlook individuals who are vulnerable or marginalized in some sort of way. See, anyone can be in a vulnerable or marginalized situation at different points in their lives. However, some people, based on their barriers, bias, and stigma associated with specific aspects of their identity, will face these situations more often and with more severity. People in vulnerable situations will likely need special attention, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are being left behind because the focus is strictly on COVID-19. These people had these special situations and they've been vulnerable prior to pandemic, but even now it seems like they lack of resources and support, right? Being isolated, it's more paramount now more than ever that we do not overlook these people. Those who may be vulnerable or marginalized are people at risk of or currently experiencing violence or discrimination, people experiencing gender based violence or intimate partner violence, which is real. We've talked about that. The counselors discussed this many times, intimate partner violence, men and women, which that may escalate during movement or restrictions during the pandemic, right? This is something that is real. The LGBTQI community, people, minorities, migrants, refugees, people with disabilities, older adults, especially those who are forgetful, those with dementia, pregnant women and people with chronic health conditions who need regular access to services, people with disabilities, including mental health conditions and psychosocial disabilities, children, adolescents, and their caregivers, those in crowded living conditions, like even think about prisoners, people in detention, refugees in camps and informal settlements, right? Older adults in long term care institutions, people in psychiatric hospitals, inpatient units, or other institutions, or those who are homeless, people living alone who have difficulties leaving their home, people who may have difficulty accessing services, right, like migrants. Rest assured that not all vulnerabilities will be visible or obvious, so it is important to respond in a caring, empathetic way with everyone that you encounter. So think about the people who are living in care homes. Those working in care homes, like the nursing homes and other institutions, may face specific challenges. Older people are at risk of COVID-19 infection and are likely to have more serious course of illness. They may experience heightened anxiety, fear, and sadness, particularly as isolation measures may prevent them from seeing loved ones. What do they call that? The brass ring. And what it is there's limitations put on people who are allowed to go into retirement homes, and that is really stressful and quite confusing for a lot of people when they're trying to see their family members, but there's limitations put on them, right, and restrictions. These are extraordinary circumstances, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. They trigger violations of human rights and dignity, including neglect in institutions. Workers may feel guilty or even powerless to change the situation, and they may require additional information and training to ensure that residents' rights and dignity are preserved. Women and girls affected by the COVID 19 uh, is another thing that we need to consider. exposing women and girls to higher levels of vulnerability, such as an increase in the duties of girls and young women in caring for elderly and ill family members, or for siblings who are out of school. They may be at a higher risk of violence in the home and of being cut off from essential protection services and social networks. Some women and girls may experience reduced access to health, sexual, and reproductive services, as well as maternal. You got to think about newborn and children health services in both the short and long terms. They may have greater economic difficulties, which could further increase their risk of exploitation, abuse, and engaging in high risk work. It is important that care is taken to meet the specific needs of women and girls in all aspects of the pandemic response, including in workplaces, communities, camps, and inside that home, right? We need to be aware. There's a lot that fall on women's shoulders, especially when it comes to taking care of elderly, even family members. A lot of times men will do it, don't get me wrong, but not to the extent that women have done it traditionally and continue to do it. Like taking care of their parents, for example. That's extra added responsibility to them on top of what they already have. And we need to take our hats off to the women. But how we do that is we look out for them, support them, protect them, and ensure that they have access to what they need. Never mind all the foolish arguing and carrying on, trying to, assert yourself. No. Let's have that respect from the outset that they could be vulnerable because of all these responsibilities. Young girls, too, right? They might feel obligated. So we got to make sure, right, that we are supporting those who are grieving. It is especially difficult to mourn the loss of loved ones during this pandemic. People may be unable to use their normal ways of coping with stress, such as seeking support from family members, or to continue their normal daily routines. They may feel that their loss is not significant because so many people are dying from this COVID 19, and they may be unable to perform normal morning rituals, right? Those working during this pandemic may witness more death and grief than normal, and rest assured they are. They may find themselves feeling overwhelmed by the losses and the grief they witness, with the added difficulty of coping with their own losses. Like, just imagine how this is going to feel. So we need to be mindful of this. We need to understand that these are very trying times and everyone needs to support. Supporting those living in refugee camps and informal refugee and migrant settings, there are going to be specific challenges, for people living in these settings. Not being able to access basic needs such as food, shelter, water, sanitation, hygiene, and adequate health care, not being able to follow rules on physical distancing due to crowded conditions, and experiencing human rights abuses from those enforcing movement restrictions. Those who remain working in refugee camps when other agencies might have left may have an increased and overwhelming workload. Also, refugees and others who are displaced have already suffered the loss of home, community, loved ones, or even their livelihoods, and they may have fewer internal and external resources to cope with the COVID 19 pandemic. And a lot of us who are in here who have our citizenship, who are either Canadian or American, we have a tendency to forget because we focus on ourselves sometimes so much, or the ones in our immediate surrounding, that we don't understand the others that are out there that need support and care. Like those ones, the people with disabilities may experience a number of barriers in accessing relevant and inclusive information about this pandemic, how it spreads, and the means of staying protected. People living in situations will be affected by the issues highlighted that we've discussed previously, right? Those living in care homes, they may be at risk of abuse or neglect in environments that do not adequately address inclusion. People with disabilities generally have less access to care and services, including food, health care, basic services, and information. Therefore, people with disabilities may suffer more severe consequences during the crisis. Sometimes I'm really amazed on how wonderful people in this world help and support people with disabilities. But there are some people who are very insensitive. And you don't want to be those people. You want to be ones who care, genuinely care, and empathize, not judge or point fingers or isolate and separate yourself because you might think that they belong over there and you belong over there. Two totally different worlds. And it's sad, but it's true. There are individuals who are in their comfort zones, and when they deal with people who have disabilities, and there's people in every family who have disabilities, but somehow there are people who are just insensitive to it. And it's sad. And that's what we need to move forward on, addressing these issues. And the way we do that is we advocate, we stand up, we get involved, right? We participate and support and guide and care and love and show care, especially during these times. And if you're in a supervisory managing position, you have a responsibility. You do. You have a responsibility as well as the rest. You are in a role where you can actually make some difference, some changes. So you have to set the tone. You actually have to use leadership skills. See, as a manager or supervisor, you play a crucial role in ensuring the well being and health of volunteers. You can use the skills, right, as a manager to support staff and volunteers if they become distressed. And you could build a supportive network and supportive work environment that promotes employee health and well being. So, what could you do when you're in those positions? What should be your responsibility? Well, you can proactively encourage them to engage in positive self care strategies and create an environment of collective care between your teams. As well, you can lead by example through modeling healthy work behaviors like not working overtime, being kind to others. Help prepare them by providing regular training for work on this COVID-19 response, right? Make sure they're well prepared. Provide accurate, up to date, and easy to understand information on staying safe during the COVID-19 pandemic. Have regular meetings to discuss challenges, concerns, and solutions. Make sure that you ensure that they have regular breaks and time to connect with family and friends. And if you really want to be supportive, implement a buddy system and encourage peer support. Provide information to all staff and volunteers on anonymous mental health counseling and supportive systems that are available within the work environment, and as well outside where they can have access to support services. Be aware of staff and volunteers who may be in vulnerable or marginalized situations and who may require additional support. Not everybody falls under one umbrella, okay? You do not treat them all the same. Sometimes you have to treat them according to the needs, and it may vary depending on their situation. And I also encourage you to operate an open door policy for staff and volunteers to report problems, preferably to someone different from their line manager or immediate supervisor if they need to. Work to proactively address conflicts. Emphasize the importance of a supportive team environment and model kindness and compassion towards oneself and other team members. See, I remember this case with the Selena. See, Selena was a manager. Selena managed a small team of counselors, and due to the COVID-19 pandemic, everyone was working remotely. To support her team, she arrives for daily check-in calls for the team to assess how everyone is doing, discuss any concerns, and provide up-to-date guidance and information on the pandemic. Selena encouraged a team of counselors to have regular social meetups and peer support without her presence. To help them relax and build a team environment, she was fantastic. She also provided contact numbers for counseling service to help her staff feel appreciated and motivated. Selena sent weekly emails saying thank you to each member of the team. Now that's connected. That's support. She was right on point. She was doing an excellent job. And she was in a position where she took her responsibilities seriously and she genuinely cared and she was organized and she was effective. And I love the word effective. You can do a job, but are you effective? Right? Are you effective in that job that you're doing? You got to ask yourself. And a lot of times you'll know is if you ask your peers or some supervisor to review, talk to you, and the people that you're working with, you'll get a sign how effective you are. You're only as good as the people you work with. Okay? You can see when the people that you work with, how they respond to situations. Look at the supervision. Look at the manager. Look at the one who's supposed to be guiding and supporting them. If they don't have it, that means the manager doesn't have it. Now, in psychosocial supports part 1, we talked about the circles of control, where you draw the circle, and on the outside of the circle, right, you label outside of my control. And then the inside of the circle, I can control. See, if you are feeling powerless to help others, it can be helpful to identify those problems you can do something about and those that you cannot. So you forgive and be gentle with yourself if you are unable to help in a particular situation. However, you need to outline this. You need to write it down, imprint it on your mind, and this will help. It will really help you see and alleviate a lot of stress, the circle of control. On the outside, write down things that are out of your control. When it comes to pay increases, that's not your realm. If it's out of your control, when somebody's bothering you, stressing you about it, I'm not making enough money. Write that down in your circle. The outside. Can't do nothing about it. It's not my division. It's not your responsibility. But if the person's saying that they need a little bit of time for themselves and you're the manager and you can rearrange their schedule, you might write that inside the circle. I can control. These are things I can control. So you can give them time and help them with their shift changes, things like that. So what it does is it categorizes what you are actually able to control in your life. And it alleviates stress when you realize that you might be thinking way beyond what you need to. You need to keep perspective. So that's an exercise that I strongly recommend. But I also recommend progressive muscle relaxation, right? And this is a really useful stress management tool. It takes about 7 minutes. So, this is a tool that you could use as a self-care strategy. And you may be able to offer this support to others as well. People, especially people who you are helping. Remember to keep a calming tone of voice as you give the instructions. Speak slowly. Allow ample time for people to experience the full effects of relaxation. Okay, so what would you say? I'm going to give an example. As we breathe, we will do some progressive muscle relaxation so that you can feel the difference between tension and relaxation in your muscles. We are not often aware when we hold tension in our bodies. These exercises will make us more aware and give us a way to release the tension. So what I'm going to ask, and this is what I normally would do, I would speak to my client and I would say, please close your eyes and sit straight in your chair. Place your feet on the floor and feel the ground under your feet. Relax your hands in your lap. As you breathe in, I will ask you to tense and tighten certain muscles in your body. As you tense and hold the muscles, you will hold your breath for a count of 3, and then relax them completely when I tell you to breathe out. Let's begin with our toes. So what you do is you lead the person through progressive muscle relaxation slowly. And the key word is slowly. Ask them to tense a part of their body and to inhale and hold their breath while you count aloud slowly. Like inhale and hold your breath. 1, 2, 3. And then you say, exhale and relax. Give a slight rise to your voice as you say, inhale and hold your breath, and bring your voice down as you say, exhale and relax. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to have that person, right? The person who's very tense, have the person tense and relax their muscles in this order. First, I want you to curl your toes tightly and hold the tension strongly. Tense your thigh and leg muscles. Now I want you to tense your belly. Hold it in. Make fists of your hands. Tense your arms by bending at the elbows and bringing your arms tight alongside your upper body. Shrug your shoulders up to your ears. Tense all your facial muscles. See, after they have exhaled and relaxed each part of their body, say, now feel your toes, your thighs, your face, your forehead, etc. Relaxed. Breathe normally. Feel the blood come into your toes, for example, or their thighs. Now, drop your chin slowly towards your chest. As you inhale, slowly and carefully rotate your head in a circle to the right. Exhale as you bring your head around to the left and back toward your chest. Inhale to the right and back. Exhale to the left and down. Inhale to the right and back. And exhale to the left and down. Now reverse directions. Inhale to the left and back. Exhale to the right and down. And I want you to repeat this twice. Now, bring your head up to the center. Notice the calm in your mind and body. Make a commitment now to take care of yourself each and every day. This is called the progressive muscle relaxation technique. Okay? And it is a wonderful exercise that you can offer people that you are supporting. And if you follow my step-by-step procedure, it's going to work wonders. And you can do it while you lead a small group. And I do recommend a small group, no more than 8 to 10. When you're doing this, you could do 1-to-1 or you could do 8 to 10 people. But I strongly recommend that you utilize this technique because it is very relaxing and it does release a lot of tension and a lot of stress. And one thing I also want to make sure is that when you're trying to help people, you need to make sure you have resources listed in your area. Okay, so make a list. And I want you to make a support service list. And I want you to include phone numbers and how to refer to these programs. Okay, so think of a sheet that you're going to have. You're going to split it into 3 columns. Support services. And under support service, I want you to have mental health services. Number 2, emergency medical services. 3, fire services, social services, the police, women's services, child protection services, legal services, and COVID-19 helpline. Like, these are the services that you could include under support services. And if you have cultural services, language services, add that as well. And I would like you to have a number for each of these, and make sure you, in your third row, you have how to refer to these services. So that sheet is an information sheet, but it's so valuable. It is so valuable. So valuable, because there are a number of people who might need this. They're not organized and they need instant access, right? They need to know where to go to get the support. And a lot of times we only go there when we're in dire need. And we don't want to be like that. We want to make sure we're well prepared. And I'm telling you, these psychosocial techniques are wonderful, and I strongly recommend that if you are going to be in a supportive position, this is what you do. We had a great talk today, and I want to say thank you to all my listeners. And be like the wise old bird and spread the word. Take care of yourself. All right? Because you are going to be taking care of other people. And this is how you can do it. It can help you in so many different ways. So take care. Until next time.